You ever come home after a day so long your body feels hollow, and all you want is a shower, a warm meal, maybe a few hours of sleep before the world drags you back again? That was me. Chris, 27 years old, just off a 16-hour shift at the construction site. My boots were still caked with cement dust, my shoulders raw from hauling rebar in the rain. My palms stung from rope burns, and my back felt like it had been ground down by the weight of steel beams. The smell of sweat, rust, and diesel clung to me like a second skin. My hands shook when I turned the ignition off, too tired to even climb the stairs. All I wanted was silence. My own bed. Nothing more. But when I slid my key into the lock of the house I'd grown up in, it didn't turn. At first, I thought it was me, too tired, too shaky. I jiggled it, stared at it like it might apologize, even checked the number on the door like I'd walked into the wrong life. Then the door opened, and there she was, Diane, my stepmother. Yoga pants, wine-stained tank top, phone in one hand, disdain in the other. Her hair tied up like she'd had a rough day, though I doubted her definition of rough looked anything like mine. Behind her, my stepbrother Jake lounged on the couch, my couch, wearing my hoodie, laughing at something on his phone. Next to him, his unemployed friend, the one who never seemed to leave, had his arm elbow deep in a bag of chips I'd bought. "Oh," Diane said, like she'd forgotten I existed. "You're back early." I told her the key didn't work. She didn't flinch. She smirked. "We changed the locks. If you want to stay, it's $30,000. Back rent, utilities. Your brother deserves a vacation. You're working construction. You can afford it." I stood there, boots sinking into the welcome mat I'd picked out years ago, duffel bag cutting into my shoulder. For a second, I wasn't 27 anymore. I was 12 again, watching Diane carry her boxes into the house after my mom's funeral. I was hearing her say, "Call me Diane, not stepmom. That's too formal." I was realizing that too formal was just code for don't expect me to love you. "Did Dad approve this?" I asked. She smirked again. "He's overseas. This is my house when he's gone. My rules." I nodded once. Understood. And I walked away. No slamming doors. No shouting. Just the sound of my car engine swallowing the ache in my chest. That night, I slept at the site, curled on a plywood platform under scaffolding, wrapped in a safety vest for warmth. The ground was hard, the air sharp with the smell of wet cement. I lay there staring at the unfinished beams cutting through the sky, counting bolts instead of sheep. My mind wandered back to the way the house used to smell like cinnamon candles and orange Gatorade, to the sound of my mom's two long hugs, the way she'd squeeze until you thought your ribs might crack, just to remind you were hers. That was before the car accident, before Diane painted over the walls, replacing family photos with stock art, before my dad, halfway around the world, thought he was protecting me by leaving me here. I thought about all the times I'd come home late and still fixed a broken faucet, paid the bills on time, stocked the fridge. I thought maybe, if I gave enough, they'd finally see me as family. Instead, they changed the locks and demanded 30 grand. I'd been waiting for this moment. So the next morning, I came back, left an envelope on the doorstep, right where Diane would find it. Then I parked down the street and waited, the steering wheel cold beneath my palms. At exactly 9:02, she shuffled out in fuzzy slippers, coffee mug in hand, phone still glued to her palm. She bent, picked up the envelope, opened it, and screamed. Not a startled gasp, not a cry of anger, a full-bodied, soul-splitting scream that ripped through the quiet of the neighborhood. Windows lit up. Neighbors pulled back curtains. Dogs barked. Jake stumbled out of the doorway, hoodie slipping off his shoulders. He grabbed the paper, his lips moving as he read. Then his voice cracked, and he joined the chorus. Because the letter wasn't a plea. It wasn't an argument. It was an eviction notice, stapled to a deed with my name on it. What they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was that the house was never theirs. My father bought it before Diane ever set foot inside. He'd transferred it to me when I turned 21. Quietly, just in case. For years, I held that secret close. I thought maybe I'd never need it. I thought maybe one day they'd come around, and the paper would just sit in a drawer. But sitting there in my car, listening to their screams echo through the street, I knew why Dad had done it. He knew who Diane really was. He just hoped I'd never have to find out the hard way. The next 30 days were a storm. Diane posted online, playing the victim. Jake cried on TikTok. They called me heartless, ungrateful, A monster. My phone filled with voicemails from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. She's your stepmother. He's your brother. Blood is blood. But I saved everything. Every screenshot. Every voicemail. Every message. Proof. Evidence. A record of who they really were when the mask slipped. And when the deadline came, I showed up. Not in dusty work clothes this time, but in a pressed shirt, hair combed, documents in hand. Diane opened the door, arms crossed, eyes sharp as glass. We're not leaving. You already did, I said. On paper. Weeks ago. Jake appeared, hoodie half-zipped, eyes red. His voice shook. This is illegal. You're throwing us into the street. No, I told him steady. You chose not to leave. I gave you every chance. And then, my dad's car pulled up. For a moment, I thought he'd side with them. That he'd look at me the way he used to look at Diane, like she was saving him from his grief. But he walked toward me first. His eyes were tired, but his step was steady. He handed me an envelope, divorce papers. She never cared about you, he said quietly. Or this family. I see that now. Together, we turned to face them. Diane sputtered excuses, Jake begged for sympathy. But Dad's voice was firmer than mine ever could be. This isn't your house. It never was. Pack your things. By sunset, the house was quiet. Their laughter, their mess, their shadows, gone. By midnight, it was mine again. I walked barefoot from room to room, every light switched on. Not because I needed to see, but because I could. For the first time in years, the air didn't feel heavy. The walls didn't hum with tension. The silence wasn't punishment. It was peace. And standing in the doorway of my childhood room, I realized something. Reclaiming your home isn't just about bricks or deeds or paperwork. It's about reclaiming yourself. About saying, I belong here. And no one gets to take that away from me again.